Well, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I want to make sure we honor your time and thank you all for being able to join us. My name is Patty Schmidt, and I am the sixth assistant coordinator in the state of Colorado for the Family Leadership Training Institute of Colorado here at Colorado State University Extension. Super excited to have you all here today and to talk about this important topic for the work that all of us do, and really, you know, to have an opportunity to bring us together from across the country and have an opportunity to learn from each other and to dialogue together about the work that we do. So I'm going to turn it over to my other co-facilitator, Zulema, to introduce herself.
Good afternoon to everyone. I am Zulema Gomez. So I am the implementation specialist for National Parent Leadership Institute. My work is very similar to Patty's, actually, just with all the other sites across the country. And then we also have a technical assistant for the state of Connecticut. So really, nationally, we have about three of us who do this work in supporting all of you and all of our sites and all of our parents as we do this very important work. And like Patty said, we're really excited to do this. We've been talking about alumni engagement for about half a year now, really talking about this. And so we're excited just to talk to all of you, learn from all of you, and then share some of the things that we've been seeing across the country. So welcome.
Yeah. Thanks, Zulema. I'm going to start off by just apologizing. I do have a cold, so I'm going to try to remember to mute when I have to cough, but I'll let you call me out for it if I don't do it. Before we get started, just a few little housekeeping items in order to facilitate the conversations that we'll have today. And then we want to provide an opportunity for every one of you to introduce yourselves. And so I just wanted to remind you that when you're not speaking, if you could mute your phone, phone or your computer, that would be great. The background noise, while it might not seem like it's really loud to you, when you have these kind of calls, it can really be distracting, especially if you're typing on your computer while we're talking. Sometimes even that typing is really loud. And I also wanted to mention that if at any time you're having some technical difficulties, you're not able to hear, you're not able to see, Heather, my colleague, has offered to be your technical assistant advisor today. So if you have any issues, I included her phone number. You can call her directly, or if you look at the bottom of your screen for your Zoom window, if you are joining us by computer or smartphone app, there's a little device called chat. And if you click on that chat, you can send a chat to the entire group, or you can send a private message. So please don't be afraid to use that to either message Heather directly or to send a message to the entire group if you have a question as we move forward in the webinar. So before we get started, are there any questions? Good. Well, then what we're going to go ahead and do is I'm going to invite everyone to introduce themselves. And in order to facilitate that, I'm going to, some of you, I can see your names, so I apologize for calling on you, but it's a way to keep us all from saying it at the same time. So if I could start with possibly Lisa, would you be willing to start by introducing yourself, Lisa?
Hello, can you guys hear me? Perfect. My name is Lisa, and I am the site coordinator for CSU Extension at Larimer County in Fort Collins, Colorado. Hello.
Thanks, Lisa, and thanks for letting us know where you're at. Next person, Chun.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Chun Fano. I just graduated this year from PLTI. And I'm doing my project, the parenting groups and setting up them for parents.
Awesome. Thanks, June. And how about, I see Taylor?
Hi, I'm Taylor McKinney. I'm the site coordinator in Arapahoe County, and our site is in Sheridan, Colorado.
Great. Thanks, Taylor. How about Tina?
Hi, my name is Tina Severance Fonte. I am calling from sunny Florida. I I just graduated from PLTI in June of this year. I had a lot of fun doing my project that pertained to the recruitment of foster parents in our community. And since I work for the school board of Broward County, we actually did a recruitment program to recruit school board employees as foster and adoptive parents who, of course, as you know, are already pre-screened and fingerprinted. So the project worked out great, and in fact, I nominated my facilitator for an award. That's how much I enjoyed it.
Oh, yay. Well, thank you for joining us, Tina. How about Michelle? Michelle Cabrera?
Okay, can you hear me?
We can. Welcome.
Oh, good. I am Michelle Cabrera. I'm also in the same program that Tina graduated from last year, run through the sequel program in the City of Sunrise. That's provided through Kellogg and the City of Sunrise funding. And I'm excited to be becoming the glue this year for the program and looking forward to it very much.
Great. Welcome.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi.
And Jackie.
Hi, I am the County Director for the Extension Office in Jefferson County, Colorado, and we are the host agency for our site, which will be new in 2018.
Great. Welcome, Jackie. Thank you for joining us. And why don't we go with your colleague, Kim, for our next introduction.
Hi, I'm Kim Massey, and I'm the site coordinator for the FLTI program in Jefferson County. So Jackie and I get to work together, and we're having a lot of fun putting the first year Jefferson County program together. So.
Great. Thanks, Kim. Welcome. And Heather?
I'm Heather Meyer, and I work with Patty here at the CSU Extension Office with FLTI of Colorado, and do a lot of the communications and evaluation work for all of the sites throughout the state of Colorado.
Great. Thanks, Heather. And is it Melvette? Am I pronouncing that right?
It's Melvette, like Corvette.
Oh, great. I like that. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Melvette. I'm the state coordinator for PLTI in Connecticut. I'm also a PLTI graduate, January 2004.
Awesome. Welcome.
Thanks.
And is it Manish?
Hi, it's Manish.
Manish. My apologies.
I'm joining from Rochester, New York. I am an alum from the 2012 program here in Rochester, and I am now the Phase 1 facilitator in my 5th year.
Oh, welcome. Great. Glad to have you on the call, Manish. And Isabel.
Hi, I'm Isabel, and I graduated from FLTI this year in March and just became a facilitator, and now I'm working facilitating the youth curriculum, which is our first time here in Summit County in Colorado.
Great. Thanks, Isabel. And Claudine.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm on computer and my phone, so. I'm Claudine of FLTI in Summit County, Colorado, and I'm a Phase 1 facilitator.
Great. Thanks, Claudine. And Claudine, there is an echo when you talk, and it might be because you're on both. So you might, you might need to completely turn down the volume on your computer to get rid of that.
Okay. Oh, and I'm also part of the state technical assistance team.
Great. Welcome, Claudine. And then I have a phone number that's 954 area code.
That's probably me, Carolyn Hudson from
Carolyn.
the city of Sunrise, PLTI. We're in the state of Florida. It's probably about 80 degrees here now.
Oh, she's
I'll be a. Hi, Tina.
Hi, Carolyn.
I will be. I knew I was the glue last year, and I'm happy to be facilitator for phase 1. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And I have a 217 area code.
Hi, it's Juanita Morris from Decatur, Illinois, the Midwest, phase 2 facilitator for PLTI.
Great. Thank you. Welcome. And 754 area code.
That's me, Tina.
Oh, is that you, Tina? Okay, great.
Yeah.
And the last one I have, if hopefully I didn't miss anyone, please let me know if I did, is the 415 area code.
Oh, yes, that's me, Monica.
Okay, Monica, can you introduce yourself to the group and let us know where you're from?
Yeah, I'm from Solano County, and we're actually doing a retreat in January. I was going to say next month, but we have one more day in November.
Oh, great.
And I'm the, coordinator.
Welcome, Monica. Glad to have you. And then it looks like we had a Kathy join us as well. So my question would be, has anybody not introduced themselves yet?
Hi, this is Kathy.
Great.
Can actually I cover up my little thing, so I'll uncover it.
Hello, Kathy. Well, thanks for uncovering it for us. Great to see you. And if we're just having everyone introduce themselves and let everyone know where you're from.
Okay. I am from Seattle, Washington, the Washington Family Engagement Trust, and we are enrolling our 3rd cohort for the PLTI, and I am the site coordinator and phase 1 facilitator.
Great. Thank you, Kathy, for being here. Well, I know that sometimes introductions like that can take a lot of time, but we've never had the opportunity to combine efforts with NPLI and the FLTI teams in the state of Colorado. So we knew it would be important to bring your voice into the room. So thanks everyone for taking the time to do that. And I'm going to turn it over to Zulema now.
I love that we're coast to coast. I'm just so excited by that. We never really get to share the same space, and virtual space for me is good enough for now. So I'm so excited. So as we talk about alumni engagement, just the way we always talk with our parent leaders, we're always asking for the why. Why is this activity? Why is this session important to our work as parent leaders? And so we bring in the why into this topic as well. Yes, alumni and alumni engagement are one of the essential components for PLTI, FLTI work, but there's a deeper reason for why. And so we wanted to have that conversation to start with. We always go back to, why are we doing this? Why is this important? And so we'd love to hear from you first before we go into some other reasons that we have explored as NPLI, FLTI. But for you, why is this piece important? There's a reason why you joined this webinar this morning, right? So why for you is alumni engagement and alumni work important? And whoever would like to start, you just unmute and join in.
So Zulema, I can start. This is Manish from Rochester. So as an alum, I know that I have experienced our Rochester, New York chapter struggle to keep the alumni connected. And there are connections that got made by us either through work or through the projects that we were working on, or through the neighborhood that we were, or through some circles that we were, connecting with some of the parents, and we stayed. But the PLTI forum brought us together only a couple times in the last 4 or 5 years. Mm-hmm. And as a phase 1 facilitator, now in my 5th year, I'm recognizing that while I see a lot of parents that complete the program, they do engage in the community in a much more deeper way than they did before. But they could be a good resource for the new chapters that are forming or new cohorts that are coming in. And I've been looking for how best to make that happen in a more sustained way. So we've seen efforts take place, but they just, they're dependent on people coming together and bringing their own energy, effort, cost to make a networking event happen, and then it just goes away.
So you talked about 2 things, Manish. Thank you so much. Part of that is the relationships, right? That alumni form. The connections that go beyond just the civic piece, right? There's a personal connection that happens in this process. You get to know your class members on such a deep level, and when there is an engagement, that just drops off, and we want to continue to connect. So that's an important piece for why alumni engagement is important. It's about relationship building and sustaining relationships. And then you also talked about that mentorship piece. So how alumni can help the new cohorts or incoming class members be successful with their community project, or can just aid in the sustainability of the initiative itself in the community. Thank you, Manish. Anyone else? Why is alumni engagement an important component, an essential component?
Hi, this is Isabel. I have a little baby with me, which is why I turned my camera off. She's too cute. So alumni for me, this is really important because I think we have a really big emphasis on our projects and how they don't have to be achieved in the 20 weeks, that you can still keep going afterwards. And just in my experience, I mean, it's been since March and I'm still working on my project. But I kind of felt like, oh no, now I'm on my own. Like now how do I do this? And I feel like there's a need for that continuation of, and sustainability as he was saying, of just how do we keep supporting our alumni so that those projects that they put so much effort into it continue and we don't feel alone.
Thank you, Isabel. Yeah. So the training, the first 20 weeks, they're really just the beginning of this journey. It's about strengthening leadership, personal leadership tools. It's about gaining civic tools. And about applying what we're learning through the community project process, but it is just the beginning of all of our leadership journey. And so there has to be a system and association in place to continue that community work, whether it's completing community projects, whether it's continued professional growth, but there is a need for that system to keep growing if we want to see change in the community, right? 20 weeks of training is not what changes community. It's that continuous application of what we're learning, strengthening relationships, mentorship. So thank you. Thank you very much, Isabel. Anyone else?
Oh no.
It takes me a while to learn how to do this, but this is Kathy. I think we're just learning about the values of the alumni because they're helping us with doing meetings with the new class members, and we've got so many members, graduates that are now sitting on advisory committees and you know, doing all kinds of things around the community. So it's really kind of fun to check in with them regularly to see what they're doing and to keep reminding others that, you know, it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop with the class. I am interested in the fact that some people, and does everyone have this experience? You know, so there's a group that we do see a lot, and then there's some that we just haven't seen. And I'm just thinking, well, they're just not, they're not going to be interested in this part, I guess. But other people are finding it really valuable.
And we could talk about that. That's a good point to talk about different ways to engage members. You know, what works for maybe some parents might not work for others. So maybe we talk about how we can diversify that engagement. Thank you.
Well, this is Carolyn from the City of Sunrise. We just had one alumni meeting that was very successful from our 2 cohorts, and it was very successful. But moving into 2018, I would like to see it to be created stronger to bring more value to the participants, so they really want to come out and they're eager. They were very eager to come out and attend the first meeting, and they talked about how they missed coming the Tuesdays we had done for 20 weeks, and that was great to hear. They missed their the various you know, members that they had associated with all that time. So I'd like to see that continue. Since then, we've built a Facebook page, and I'd like to encourage more Facebook activity. It's a great group, and I'm also reaching out them for recruitment purposes. So my main goal is to stay connected and keep them informed of various activities and information that's going on in our communities and the surrounding communities.
Thank you, Carolyn. And you touched upon, so as Patty and I were talking about the whys, those who have participated so far have really listed a lot of the reasons that we had talked about, and recruitment was one of them. Again, you know, your alumni are the best recruiters you're going to have for the new cohort, since they've been through this experience. And I say since they, but it's also you. We have a lot of alumni here on this call as well. And also the quality of your program, the quality of your training is greatly informed by the feedback that you receive from your alumni. And so it's always a great idea to have a debrief with your alumni. How can we improve this? How do we improve outreach, the delivery of the content, things like that. So alumni really, really increase the quality of the work that we do year by year if we're engaging our alumni effectively.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Carolyn. So all of these notes will actually send to you a tool after this call that has some of these notes and some of these comments that we are talking about. But we wanted to go into sort of the next step. So, because I know we can go into why for a long time, but we want to honor your time again, and we'll have Patty lead us through the next discussion.
Great. So several of you shared some things that you are already doing, you know, to engage your alumni. Of those of you who are either alumni or facilitators. So I wanted to start off this part about talking about some examples of alumni engagement by inviting 1 or 2 people to just share one event or one action that they take in order to engage their alumni that they found particularly effective.
I'll go. Can you hear me?
We can. Thanks, Miriam.
No problem. Yeah, I mean.
And welcome, Miriam.
Hi, thank you for letting me in. For me, it was a very rewarding experience, and that it showed me I don't have to be a powerful person, you know, who has fame or whatever to make a difference, that I can make a difference in small ways in my daily life, you know? So it awoken a sense of responsibility in me, that even at times when I feel overwhelmed about what's going on in my own life, I can't put it to rest. You know what I mean? Like it kind of eats away at me, like I'm supposed to be doing this and I can do this. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So although like I may not do stuff that's big, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to, it's like you may not have the big positions that you would like to do one day, but in small ways you're doing stuff. You're attending more PTA meetings, or you're showing up to, you know, to speak up on behalf of your child with more knowledge than you did before. You know what I mean? So the skill that we got, we don't even realize how much has impacted our daily life on the day-to-day things that we do. Forget about doing the big things, but even on the small things that we may take for granted, PLTI has been able to like awoken a sense of responsibility and some skills that we didn't have before we came into PLTI. So for myself, like I'm busy, I feel overwhelmed, but then I find myself, I'm going to be the PTA president next year, right? So I would have never have done something like that before, you know? So I'm going to draw upon some of the lessons that I learned from PLTI. And, you know, it's just, I don't, it's a rewarding experience that I can go on and on, but in a nutshell, you know,
Great.
it's been a very valuable experience.
Thanks, Miriam. I think that I love how you're taking the experience and the skills and the passion that you were able to encounter with PLTI and now look at how you can move that forward. So
right.
I appreciate that and I love that. How about the rest of the group? Is there somebody who, in order to really explore alumni engagement, and one of the questions that's already come up is what are those different types of alumni engagement that you can do? Is there somebody who can share one thing that they do locally in their community to engage graduates of their PLTI, FLTI programs?
So this is this is Claudine. Is this echoing still?
Nope, it's not. And so I have Claudine, and then there was one other person who spoke as well. So I'll have Claudine go first. And who was the other person?
Kathy.
Kathy. So we'll have Kathy go next. Claudine.
Okay.
Great.
Hi, this is Claudine from FLTI in Summit County, Colorado. And we have created a Facebook group and have communicated through WhatsApp on just things that our alumni are doing in the community, and we've just seen a great turnout of graduates coming to support those events. So that has been one way, and then we've added our next two cohorts to that Facebook group as well. And the second thing we did was I facilitated some workshops on living life on purpose, and we probably had about not quite 50%, but almost half of our alumni come, and it was a 3-part series, and we met once a month, or maybe it was once every, what was it, Isabel? Was it once every week? I don't know. We did a 3-part series where we just set some dates on the calendar, and we continued the conversations of, you know, just updating each other on where we were at, you know, starting with the celebrations and announcements and just connecting. And then we had a topic of discussion. So week one was discovering our dreams and purpose. The next one was self-care, and then the third one was core values. So something it seemed like our alumni wanted was continued learning. So not just connecting, but also continuing education on how do I continue to grow. And like Zulema said earlier, this is just the beginning of their leadership journey. And so we're seeing that our alumni want additional tools to continue that journey.
Great. Thanks, Claudine.
So this is Kathy here. We had a couple of things that we did based on the interests of the group. So one was we had Everett Community College people come and talk to the group about pathways to different, you know, how you could use the community college to do different things, finish your degree or find a better job or things like that. So, and one of the things that our group is interested in, a lot of people are interested in, is employment and finding jobs. So we've been the other thing we do is we have a MailChimp that we send out almost weekly or every other week, that any kinds of job opportunities or any kinds of civic opportunities where people are asking for parent input, we just send a big list to everybody for them to look at. Another thing from the class that we did was we wanted to go and tour the Seattle Times newspaper plant. So in the middle of the, not everybody could go on in the middle of the week, and apparently the newspaper gets printed at night. So you can't go in the evenings. So we went, but we toured how does a newspaper get printed, which was kind of fun. So those are some of the things that the class was interested. The other thing that we were looking at is immigration rights, and a lot of our alumni are interested in what are their rights and what to do if ICE knocks on your door. So I talked to the ACLU and got some information for them, but also we're still looking to have someone come and talk to them.
Great. Thank you, Kathy. So Kathy, a follow-up question then on one of the things that you mentioned, with the MailChimp, sending out those opportunities. I know that sometimes that can take time to, gather those opportunities and send those out. Can you say a little bit more about the mechanics of how your site handles that? Who does it? Who gathers it? How much time does it take?
I just really, it's kind of anytime, you sort of have your email where you just get a lot of community people are emailing you different things. I just take out anything that I think that the alumni would be interested in. I stick it on my desktop, on my computer. And then I'm getting faster at doing the MailChimp of how you just make a link. So I just link that, if it's a flyer or if it's a website or something, and you just say free workshop on how to do interviews and free clothing for interviews at this time. And so it does take me a couple of hours, I would say a week.
Okay, good. So those are all really, thank you, Kathy and Claudine, for sharing those examples of ways that you work to engage alumni. Those are all really great examples of different ways, whether it's about an issue that's going on in the community that many of your graduates want to explore more together, a lot of continuing education opportunities, and some easier things you can do, creating a Facebook page for your local site so that you can post those opportunities and share the management of those Facebook pages so that it's not just one or two people who's responsible for those, but several people who do that. And one of the things that when we were talking about the why, that is always really important to think about when thinking about alumni engagement with your PLTI, FLTI graduates, is that FLTI and PLTI was never meant to be run by a site coordinator or a host agency. It's meant to be a collaboration of people, your alumni, your partners, your host agency, your site coordinator. And so if you can do anything with the work you want to do around alumni engagement to ensure success, it is really working to see how many people you can get involved in your local site to design what your alumni engagement is going to look like. There are definitely things like, it sounds like, Kathy, you have a great system around, using MailChimp and really just streamlining and getting those opportunities out. And I know Claudine brings a lot of facilitation experience and the work she does for her business around, that continuing education and those personal journeys, which is such a gift for your sites. But, always be thinking about who else, as we go through the rest of this webinar today, who else can I get involved in my alumni engagement for my site or for my community or for my state, so that we can have even more impact for our alumni and ultimately for our communities. So in order to do that, and because you all brought up some great examples, I'm going to hand it over to Zulema to talk about some of the forms that alumni engagement can take.
So Kathy mentioned something really important about how the alumni are the ones that really inform this work. And so with all these examples that we'll list, it's important that that it be the alumni, it be parent leaders from your community that really decide where alumni engagement should go. Alumni engagement is based on the needs of the alumni. It's based on the wants. What do I want to learn? How am I going to grow in my leadership? So it's important to always start with that conversation. And sometimes it's just an initial gathering to talk about, we really want to reboot our alumni engagement in our community. A lot of sites are in that place right now where, we've been doing this for a few years. It's, it's just a few times a year, but I don't feel it's effective. And so it's okay to come back and, have a gathering, a social gathering. I know this is something that Carolyn actually ended up doing in Florida, and just brought alumni together to say, okay, we want to do this and we want to be better, and what are your interests, what are your needs, and then take it from there. And so here are some ideas that we'd like to share for what you can bring to the table as an alumni member, as a site coordinator, as a civic design team member. One of those that was already mentioned, which is a civic field trip or a night at City Hall. So Seattle actually had, for their phase one of their guest speakers was a reporter from Seattle Times. And so I thought it was so perfect, Kathy, how then, as an alumni activity, you took a field trip to the plant. That's great. It could be to City Hall. It could be to your state offices, any buildings or places that have a civic importance to your community. Maybe there's some history there. But being physically in the civic space of your community is an important experience for your parents to have. Some sites do that during the 20 weeks, but it's, you can always save that for the alumni engagement piece. So, that's one of those things. Another thing that was mentioned is the professional growth or topic training. So again, a lot is learned in 20 weeks, but we can always learn more. And so we want to provide opportunities for our alumni to continue their leadership growth. Were there topics that they were very interested in during those 20 weeks? Maybe they said grant writing. Maybe they talked about learning a little bit more about social media. So we explore a little bit, how to use media, but maybe specifically, how do I use social media to advance, an issue, a cause? So as site coordinators, we want to pay attention, what were those things that really got parents excited about? Was it the budget class? Or maybe at that initial meeting, we're asking parents, we give them a long list of different topic areas and, check off the ones you're most interested in. So Merced isn't here on this webinar, but I know that's one of the things that they did is they just opened it up to their parent leaders. What are those professional growth topics that you would like to explore? So professional growth trainings are another great way to engage them. And along with that too is, the timing, it might feel like it's going to take extra time, maybe some extra resources from a site coordinator. And some of the suggestions that we've heard is to schedule those alumni events or alumni gatherings on the same night as your current sessions. So if you do alumni classes every Thursday night, then why not invite your alumni to also have their meeting on that same night? You already have childcare in place, you have some dinner in place. It's a place for alumni and the current class to meet. And so from what we've heard from some sites, that greatly reduces the cost of having, additional childcare, additional space, additional food. Maybe you make it a potluck style. So that combination of events is very helpful. And so another thing is an issue-related meeting. So if there is something that's going on in your community, the community is talking about a specific issue that parents might want to learn more about. So there's an issue that's going to be voted on or something. So one example, I was thinking of a community where they were debating a lot about cameras on the police officers. There was a long debate, there was going to be some votes around it, and parent leaders just wanted to understand that a little bit more. And so they actually went to City Hall for a council meeting to actually hear the public comments around that, the pros, the cons, what the vote was going to look like. You know, they had the opportunity to provide public comments. So, you know, that's an issue-related meeting, or maybe bring someone in to a meeting that can talk about those issues. Maybe someone from both sides. Again, the pros and cons. We always want to provide both sides to every issue. So that's another one of those things. Childcare is another issue. Healthcare for all. So any of these issues that you think your parents, or maybe they have expressed, you know, I want to understand this more. Everyone's talking about it. I need to see both sides. We can definitely gather parents around that. One that we're starting to see a lot more is the alumni retreat. And from what I understand, these were actually pretty common years ago. And so now we're seeing sites really pick this up, is to do alumni retreats. And so we know that the retreat experience is a special one for all of our alumni. And so sites are now recreating that experience by bringing current graduates and past class members into a one-day or half-day experience where they do activities similar to the retreat, where there's some community building, but there's also some discussion of content around maybe some civic tools, civic activities, policies that are being discussed in the community. And they're also using the retreats to really set the agenda for the next year. So they're still providing an opportunity for all of the alumni to say, okay, how do we want to move forward? Do we want to do a community project as a class? Do we want to work on a policy issue, you know, push something forward? So that alumni retreat, a full day like that or a half day, Merced just did a 2-day. And so that's awesome. So whatever you can do to bring all of your alumni together in a retreat-like environment, that's also, you know, a great idea.
Sounds like that's what Claudine and the Summit County folks do as well.
Nice, yeah. So the last one that we have here in our forms of alumni, again, these are the only ideas. These are just the ones that we were talking, you know, what are sites doing and what's working, is again, the public policy work. So sometimes alumni come together to work on a specific policy, whether it's creating a new policy, whether it's supporting a policy, opposing a policy, whatever it is. We know that parents are trained to really speak to community issues. And so gathering around a policy issue is an effective way to create change in your community and for parents to continue to do that.
And I have a great example of that right now in the state of Colorado. It's been an issue for a really long time, but for many communities, there's this push again to really educate community members about the Tabor Amendment in the state of Colorado. And that's an amendment that really impacts the way our state legislature is able to spend money. And it's really had a detrimental effect on our legislature's ability to fund really important services in the state of Colorado. And so what some FLTI sites in the state of Colorado are doing is having evening meetings and bringing in specialists who can just explain even more in detail than our graduates get in class. What is the Tabor Amendment? What do we need to know on how it's impacting our community? And what can voters do in order to change the Tabor Amendment? And so that would be a great example of a current public policy that there's efforts across the state to change a policy that is impacting families and children.
Thank you. And Monica, let me see if Monica's still on here. Monica, would you be able to speak to the policy forum that Solano County is doing and how alumni are involved in that work?
Yes. All this policy talking got me thinking about our policy forum. So in Solano County, every year we, I should say our, Alan, who is our managing person, but he belongs to an organization that hosts a policy forum in Solano County. And at that forum, all our local politicians, some state politicians get together, and the community comes, and it's kind of just basically like an open forum about the different things that are going on in our community, locally, statewide, federal, all those kinds of things. And we really encourage our alumni to not just help kind of form what we, want to do, because the agenda changes every year depending on the political climate, clearly. So we really try to involve them in, the process of, kind of what do we want to get out of this? What are our goals? And then we really encourage everybody else who can't really quite do that, just come and, be there and be present and express their views and, network and get involved. And it's been really, our alumni that does come and get involved, they love it. We do CLTI as well. So last year we involved some of our youth and they really loved it. So I think it's in February this year. I'm not sure, but anyway, so yeah, it's a great opportunity and our alumni love it and we really appreciate the help.
And from what I've seen, so I was able to attend a couple of years ago, is alumni are at the front and they're really addressing the policymakers that are there. It's sort of a panel format. So alumni, youth leaders in the community are addressing legislators on, where they stand with certain issues. Please support this, please oppose this. So there is a direct communication between alumni and the legislators at these forums, which is another great format. Is anyone doing anything different, or maybe even one of these that they see is really working? Some of these that we just listed.
Zulema, it's Manish. So in Rochester, we did a social media virtual learning, and that was very well attended. And in the past, we've had alumni meeting take place on the same night and same location as a class. But we haven't done that more recently.
Was that effective, Manish, having it on the same night?
Oh, absolutely, yes. Because once, and I know it's true for me, once I carved out Monday evenings, which is when we hold PLTI sessions, then it continued on. So it's easy to pick that same evening and that same venue because people are familiar, and they can more easily make themselves available on that evening.
That's a great point, Manish. Thank you. That habit, right? You're just so used to Monday night. Absolutely. Anyone else doing any of those things that we listed or something different they'd like to share?
Hey, Zulema, everyone. My name's Lisa and I'm in Fort Collins, and I actually just began as a site coordinator in October 9th. And I was advised it would be a great asset for me to reach out to alumni. And I have done so, and it's benefited me in many ways. I'm very thankful for all the ideas that you guys have shared with me moving forward to really engage our alumni more. But I'm fortunate enough to have alumni who are coming in and helping and assisting me with getting interviews done. And it's just really remarkable to have an alumni there at the interviews who can speak to the experience and what it was like for them, for a new person coming in. Currently we have the civic design team they hadn't been meeting, but they're getting back together, and a lot of alumni are joining that. And then it's also just extremely fortunate. We have alumni in local government who've come in, and they're talking about also being able to come back and be part of the classes, helping get speakers for our classes, and then also being there for participants who will be coming in. Some of them have continued their civic projects. And so we can look out, for instance, we have someone who did a grandparents coalition, and she will be able to come in, and if anybody's interested in that, she can be kind of that leader in that person in the community for new participants that are coming on board. So I've learned a lot through Alumni, and I think it's one of the most valuable resources as a new site coordinator that I've been able to tap into. So that's
Absolutely. Thank you, Lisa. And you started us on sort of the next piece of the conversation, which is reaching out to alumni. So how do we do this? What are some of the best practices for how we work with alumni, either with organizing some of these events or just in our consistent alumni engagement work? Patty, would you like to take us into some best practices?
Yeah, I do. And, you know, I wanted to start off with asking you a question, but I'm going to try to keep this part as brief as possible. And this is something that in the tool that Sulema and I are going to send after the meeting today, that we do address in that toolkit. So I would really invite you to just kind of look through those best practices. But one of my first questions for all of you is, when do you think the best time to start alumni engagement is?
This is Carolyn, and I would say immediately after the graduation, or either maybe in session 19 or so to start the conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, start the conversation sooner than graduation and dive right into it shortly thereafter. I think Zulia said before 3 months before, you know, to keep that enthusiasm and connectedness going. That's my opinion.
Thanks, Carolyn. So even before that graduation, what are other thoughts might you have about when is the best time to start that?
Hi, this is Claudine.
Oh. Go ahead, Claudine.
Okay. I was thinking maybe a month after, you know, just to give them a little bit of a break. But then they want it, you know, they want to reconnect. So I think definitely mentioning it during, you know, before graduation, and that we will have an alumni group and these are the events, but then also asking for volunteers to really motivate that, you know, that getting together. And so I would think within the first month after graduation.
So Claudine, you talked about two important things. So letting people know before they graduate that you're going to do an event later, and recruiting them to be a part of that right from the start, which is great. And then one other comment about when you think the best time to do alumni engagement or to start alumni engagement is?
This is Kim, and it's funny, we're a new site, so we're just now recruiting participants. We don't have any alumni yet, but Jackie and I, during our interview process, have been talking to our interviewees about being alumni. So that's when we're starting the process. We're hoping to build that alumni group, and you know, as part of that whole participation, really presenting the concept as an ongoing commitment. So it's not just the 20 weeks, it's really the start of, you know, a community engagement life process.
The expectation.
Yeah. Another idea.
Yeah. Well, and thank you for that, everybody, because you're all right. There's no one set way. What works for your community is what works for your community. But the sooner you can start planting those seeds about alumni engagement and how this is a 20-week journey, but we want you to stay involved afterwards. And many of our graduates do go on to do great things together and separate. And so how can we continue to impact our communities in larger ways by staying connected as alumni? And, you know, one of our sites in Colorado, they actually use their participants they get them involved at week 11. Of course, my husband calls her. I'm talking. They get there at week 11. They ask for a group of volunteers to plan the graduation. And, you know, that is such a huge help for the coordinators and for the facilitators. The coordinator and the facilitator are the ones who do, you know, the focused celebration and, you know, really guiding the content of the graduation, but it's the alumni who are in that class, who are graduating, who plan on how they're going to celebrate. So bringing in the cultures from that class and, you know, setting up the room the way they want to. And it's such an incredible resource for that site, and it really sets up that expectation that not only are you going through this process, but we're asking you to be a leader and give back to this program as well. So all really great things to think about when thinking about alumni engagement. And as far as best practices go, you know, things to be thoughtful about are things like, you know, having that regular contact with your alumni. So whether you send something to them quarterly or, like Kathy mentioned, using MailChimp and every other week sending leadership opportunities to your alumni, it really is important that your alumni hear from you, and they hear from you more than just when you need something. And so if you're only contacting your alumni when you need something, you're really missing that opportunity to build that relationship and to increase the effectiveness of your program. Manish, did you have something to add to that?
No, I was just raising my hand. I'm in my office, so I'm just getting ready for my next call. So I got to drop off. I just sent a note to Zulema too, so sorry for the confusion.
Oh, no, that's okay. Well, thanks for joining us today.
Yes, thanks again. Glad I got the opportunity, and I look forward to getting some new ideas on how to re-energize the alumni here in Rochester.
Great. Thanks, Manish.
Thank you.
So that communication piece is really important. You know, connecting with your alumni to design your alumni engagement plan, building the leadership capacity, so really allowing your alumni to take that leadership on how you move an engagement forward. All are different ways that you can make sure your alumni engagement plan is effective. Another thing to be thinking about as far as your alumni engagement plan is have a plan. So if you don't have something written down on paper, then you need to do it. So if there's one thing leaving this webinar today that we would invite you to think about doing is be thoughtful and put pen to paper, whether it's you as a coordinator or you as an alum, thinking about, okay, so what's one thing that I'm going to do in the next year to engage my alumni, either out in community, at a city hall meeting. What is one thing that you can do with the time and the resources that you have? Whether it's pulling a group together, if you can put one thing down on paper or electronic paper and have a plan set up for that, that will help you a lot. And so what we're going to do, I want to just show you really quickly the resource that we will be sending to you. Let me find it. There we go. So just for those of you who can see, there is a resource that we'll be sending you about a lot of the things that we've talked about today. And at the end of that resource, this is something that you can use with your alumni. And at the end of that resource are some guiding questions for you to think about. What are we currently doing to engage alumni? So even if you're in a new site, I love when Kim from Jefferson County in Colorado shared, hey, we haven't even had our first class yet, but we're already addressing alumni engagement in our interviews. That was a great idea. So honor what you're already doing. What's one thing you could do in the next year? And then what are the resources you need to make it happen? So think about maybe taking a couple minutes, even after this webinar, to be thinking about those questions, writing something down. There's been a lot of research that says that when we write it down, we've not only thought about it, so we've thought about it with our right side of our brain, but when we write it down, we connect our left side of the brain, and that really helps us find focus to make something happen. So with the last minutes that we have, we wanted to open it up to anyone who had any questions or, you know, anything that you wanted to share with the group.
I have a brief comment. This is Carol, and I want to share how we've involved our alumni. We've invited them to be part of, we're underneath the umbrella of Family Central, and underneath there with the sequel partnership, Community for Quality Early Learning and Literacy. On a number of occasions, we've invited our alumni to come in and be part of our advisory board. We've invited them to be part of our fundraisers, and we've even invited them to be part of focus groups. And always, we've had 2 to 3 alumni who've been more than gracious to come and take those and play those roles. So that I wanted everyone to know that.
That's such a good point, Carolyn. Thank you. As site coordinators, we always want to be thinking of those leadership opportunities for our parent leaders. You know, maybe an email comes through, there's an opening on the early child care board or a local planning council. You know, send a mass email to our alumni who would be interested in the parent voice. So anything like that, you know, definitely we always want to plug in our alumni to continue using those leadership skills that they have gained.
Anybody else want to share either something they're thinking they want to do in the next year, or, you know, a practice that they use to, and they find particularly effective in alumni engagement?
This is Monica from Solano, and we're getting ready to do an alumni retreat next month. And we've kind of planned out an agenda and asked our alumni for feedback, but you know, we're definitely going to leave time for them to socialize, catch up, you know, have some guest speakers that were really, really popular come in and talk to them. Also give them an opportunity to tell us what they want to see out of, you know, their alumni get-togethers. So I guess I just wanted to know if anybody has any, you know, best practices or other feedback that we haven't thought of that we could include.
So anybody have some best practices or thoughts around an alumni retreat for Monica?
And we would love to hear from newly graduated alumni. Your voice is definitely important in this.
I had a question.
Yes, Miriam.
Yes. Alumni retreat, talking about how far back in the alumni are we talking about? Like a recent alumni or just everybody?
Great question.
For us, it's 3 classes, but one of the classes is a Spanish class. So some of the parents in the Spanish PLTI were bilingual, some were monolingual. So we're really trying to be mindful about how that's going to look, but it's going to happen. And a lot of our guest speakers are bilingual, so that really helps. Yeah, so we'll I mean, I think other than that, I just want to make sure that I know we're not going to have enough time, but this is our first time doing it, so we'll see.
Awesome, Monica. Monica, I wonder if you would be willing to share your agenda with the group, and maybe people would be able to email you some feedback or ideas?
Yeah, no, that would be great. I will definitely send it, and any feedback would be wonderful. I haven't heard from any of our alumni yet, but I know it's holidays, and it's really, they have 10 million things going on, so yeah, yeah.
And you know, Monica, one of the things I know when I have planned alumni events and trainings, really looking at like, I've had the most effective ones I've had have been ones that are like things that have been mentioned today, where people not only can get together to connect, but they also feel like they're strengthening their skills. And so one of the ones that we did a half-day training on was around conflict resolution. And so, and there was built-in time for some of the things that we talked about, but I know the alumni really found a lot of value in conflict resolution skills as they are out in community and trying to pull groups together for the work that they want to do.
Patty, I wonder if you can take us back to the tool. I wanted to share
Sure.
the timeline that we have in there, especially since I'm looking at our new site coordinators who are beginning this work in new communities. We have, as Patty's pulling it up, we have a sample timeline for, you know, when we can not just begin to engage alumni, but really how we can do that. So if you see here, we have just, again, this is just a sample. This is not a hard, fast, this is, you know, black and white, do it like this. But just in looking at what some sites are doing, you know, for example, this first year one, at session 5, you can begin to invite, you know, a parent leader to start that Facebook group. We heard some of you talk about, you know, already creating those Facebook groups. So this, we really encourage you to go back as you have time to look at this tool, look at this timeline. Does this fit? Have I done this? What would I like to do? When's the best time to invite alumni from the last cohort to connect with this class? So again, just another tool to add to your toolbox around this work. This tool was created not just for site coordinators, but civic design team members, and also with your alumni who are helping in organize alumni engagement events. We know a lot of alumni lead this work, and as it should be, right? Again, as Patty mentioned, it wasn't intended to just be led by a site coordinator. No one has time for that. And so it's done in partnership with our alumni, our civic design team members. And so this is a tool that can be brought back to, you know, your next civic design team meeting, your next team meeting as you're planning a new cohort with your alumni. And so again, like Patty said, we'll send that right after this call to those who are here. You get it first. So that's kind of the perk of being live. So thank you for joining us. But before we leave, I know we really just want to make sure that we've had a chance to answer any questions that may still remain on this specific topic of how do we engage alumni effectively.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I'm the new graduate, so I thought you were pointing to me to ask me. It's really kind of nervous because everybody else have already done a lot of work. So I don't know what to say when I hear you. But like for me, if for engagement, I'll be interested in knowing what the other classmates were doing, because after we graduate, since we're all scattered, we don't know who's doing what anymore. Even we know initially what they were planning to do. Some may already start doing it, or some maybe only just a one-time event, and some maybe continuous process. So if somehow we can be engaged in knowing who's doing what and who wants to share their progress, and if they have challenges, and if they have actually they reshape their project and they may go to different directions and they may need help. That can form a tighter community, I think, especially when you always run into some difficulties you never anticipated before, or there's some new issues in the community coming up and you're really passionate about, but you don't know where to get help to address it. I guess there's something can be done to do that.
Thank you so much. And I think we hear this from parents all across the country. We need to be able to hear those updates. How do we help each other? Who's doing what? And so in whatever alumni events we're hosting, meetings, we always want to provide the space for those updates. So just the way we did in a PLTI, FLTI session, training night, we always, you know, any news and announcements, any celebrations, we want to open up our events in the same way. To hear how is everyone doing, and this is the space where we hear parents say, you know, I'm almost done with my project, even though it's, you know, 6 months to a year later, I might need this support, I might need these resources. So parents continue to really work together in advancing these projects. So thank you for that reminder. We always just want to provide that space again for those updates. And some sites do it differently. Some sites do it in person. Sometimes site coordinators might do a newsletter like Kathy spoke to share those announcements. You know, site coordinators are very connected to those successes that alumni might have even after graduation. And so, you know, one of those newsletters, like the ones that come out of Seattle, might include, you know, so-and-so just received a scholarship from this program, or so-and-so just completed their project, let's celebrate them. So in whatever we do, we want to continue those celebrations and find a place for those updates. So thank you for that reminder.
And I would also say there's, thank you for that. I'm glad that you added that, because that's definitely a best practice. And then, you know, for all of you, if you're not already connected to the PLTI Facebook page, as well as the FLTI of Colorado Facebook page, both of those pages spend a lot of time sharing leadership resources, free webinars, free local classes. We acknowledge alumni. We highlight some of the work that alumni are doing, and there's such a great resource. So definitely in your local communities, make sure that you spread the word on those too, because that makes your job easier, because you can just share that and you don't really have to do a lot of work around that. So those are great resources. And any last questions or additions to this conversation? Well, thank you everybody for being here. Before I turn it over to Sulema to say some last words, I just want to say thank you. It was an honor to meet all of you and to have this conversation. We're going to send you a quick, 3-question evaluation for this webinar in order to see if this is something you find valuable and that we should continue doing. But thank you for your time. Great to hear what you all are doing, and great to be a part of a community who does great work in this world.
Thank you to everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carolyn. And we really I just wanted to say, you know, again, with alumni engagement, what we hear from a lot of sites is, I had no idea, right? So I didn't know how to do this. I didn't know it was going to take this much time. A lot, especially sponsoring organizations, sometimes they don't see the value to investing in the alumni engagement piece. So we really hope you take back this conversation to your sponsoring organizations, to your teams, to really, like Patty said, be intentional about this work. We ask our parent leaders to be intentional in their leadership. You know, we have a whole session on intentional communication and language. Everything that we do is with intention. And so those of us who support parent leaders in our community, we need to have the same intention, have a strategy around how will we continue leadership growth in our community. All of us came to PLTI, FLTI for a reason. There's change that we want to see in our community. And again, the training is just the beginning. The core of the work is everything after. For me, it's like a wedding, right? So there's this beautiful relationship. There's this awesome wedding. Everyone celebrates the love. Yay, that's your graduation. But really, the true test is everything that comes after, right? The marriage piece, not just the wedding. And so that's what it is with parent leadership. The true test of our parent leaders and for us who support this work is post-graduation, and it's an alumni engagement. So I really encourage you to meet with your teams and have this conversation. I thank you so much for taking the time to discuss this, for sending us your questions ahead of time as we've been talking about this for a while. And again, sending any other suggestions. If there's another topic that you'd like to explore as a group, it's great to hear from other sites. You know, Patty and I definitely don't know as much as we might sound like we know. So we learn everything from you, everything. So thank you so much for sharing your resources. Just thank you, and for doing this work.
And we'll stay on. So if some of you wanted to stay, if you had any specific questions, we would invite you to stay. Otherwise, thank you for joining us. And if we don't hear from you, have a happy holidays.
Bye.
Bye-bye.